Hi, welcome to another exciting edition of PC Voyage. My name is Diana McLean, and I'm here today with Rainey Lavalette and Tim Hamlet. How are you guys today?
Good, Diana. How are you?
We're getting pretty good at this part.
Yes, definitely. Well, last time we were talking about DOS 6.0, and I thought it would be nice if we could continue talking about DOS 6.0.
Quite funny, so did we. First thing I'm going to talk about tonight is the undelete command. We all know that at some point in our lives we've either on purpose or accidentally deleted files that we wish we could have gotten back after we had typed DEL. Well, in DOS 6, Microsoft has purchased from PC Tools their infamous undelete command. And what we're going to do here in a second is we're going to show you how the undelete, clear that stuff, we're going to show you how the undelete command works. And what we've got here is we've set up a directory of files that we're going to go ahead and delete, and then we're going to bring them back. All right, so let's just, for example, say we're going to delete all of our config.sys files or whatever. They're gone. With the undelete command, we can go back and say, it comes back and it says, do you want to undelete this file? Now it says config.bat. Now because it doesn't know what the first letter is, it's asking you, do you want to type it in? It's like, yes, we want to undelete this, and the first letter is C. The only thing that's important to note here is the fact that you do have to remember what the first letter of the files are if you're going to use the undelete command this way. And here's the config sys and the config.ysy. Now, all three of our config files are back. Now, if you don't want to do that, you can use and keep in memory what they call the undelete sentry. Now, you can put this in your autoexec.bat. And what the undelete sentry does is it keeps a copy of all the files that you've deleted for up to 7 days on your system. The problem is that it takes up a lot of disk space. And let's delete those same files again. And they're gone. It's just like a magic trick. We'll undelete them. And it says, now you see this time here it came back and says this file can be 100% undeleted. And it knows the first letter. So yes, we want to undelete this one. We want to undelete that one. And we want to undelete this one. Now if you do this every time you load your system, in the autoexec file, it will prevent you from having to remember these files, but it does take up disk space. And that's the other thing to remember.
Okay, well thank you.
All right.
Tim, could you tell us something about switches?
Okay, switches is a handy little thing that you put in your config.sys file. There are 4 switches to be used here. The /w specifies that the win-a20.386 file has been moved to another directory other than the root directory. And you only have to use this when you're using Microsoft Windows 3.0 in enhanced mode. Okay, the /k switch forces your enhanced keyboard to operate like a conventional keyboard. There are some applications where you might have to use that. Won't recognize the enhanced keyboard commands. The /n prevents you from using the F5 or the F8 key to bypass the startup commands. Now, just a word on that. When you see the word starting MS-DOS come up on your machine when it's booting up, it usually waits a couple of seconds, and during this time it reads the first line of your config.sys file. If at that time you press the F5 key, you're going to bypass your config.sys file completely. If you use the F8 key, it will step through the commands in your config.sys file one at a time, prompting you to say, yes, I do want to use this one at this time, or no, I don't. So you can kind of customize your config.sys even more for special applications. So the /n switch prevents you from doing that, so that if somebody else is using your machine and you have something special in your config.sys, they can't bypass it and possibly screw up your machine. The /f switch, the last one, will skip the 2-second delay that happens right after you see the message starting MS-DOS come up on your screen. And that's all there is to switches.
Oh, great. Well, thank you. Rainey, I was interested in knowing about Smart Drive.
Well, Smart Drive has been around for a long time, especially you long-time Windows users and DOS 5 users. The only thing that Microsoft has done differently in Smart Drive version 4.1 that comes with DOS 6 is that they've made the right caching, which means how often, the purpose of Smart Drive is to keep files in memory that you've used last. So for example, if you're calling the same file up twice, it's going to keep the last pieces of that file in memory. What Microsoft has done in DOS 6 is they've made that a lot more liberal so that it doesn't write the data back out to the drive until there's a free time that you're not using the system. Like when your keyboard's idle and you're using Smart Drive, you may notice that your hard drive is actually accessing. Well, what DOS is doing is DOS is writing that data from your memory back onto your hard drive. They've come up with a fix for it, which is available on a lot of bulletin boards, including CompuServe, and it will be in the bug fix version of DOS 6 that Microsoft puts out. Yes, they have bugs just like everybody else does. To allow you to go back to the old method of Smart Drive and make it a little bit more conservative so that when you exit a program, it automatically writes the what's in memory back out to disk. Some people have gotten into trouble with it, especially with double space, and they want to kind of reduce some of those problems. That's about the only thing that's changed in Smart Drive.
Oh, not too much.
Not too much.
Not too much.
Just enough to make it a pain in the neck for everybody.
I see, I see. Tim, could you tell us what vSafe is?
Okay, vSafe is a little TSR program from, let me start that one again.
I think you should.
Yeah. vSafe is a little TSR program that Central Point provided along with the antivirus program. And it runs in the background. You load it in with your autoexec file, and it continuously monitors the computer for viruses and displays a warning if it finds one or activity that is suspicious of a virus. Okay, it uses 22K of memory, and that's not too bad considering some of the other TSRs that I've seen. And there are a number of switches and options that you can use with this. You either use a plus or a minus in front of the number of the switch to turn it on or off. Plus for on, minus for off. Okay, it'll tell you, it'll warn you of formatting that could completely erase the hard disk. It could warn you of an attempt by a program to stay in memory. It prevents programs from writing to the disk. Now, keep in mind that you can turn some of these off because obviously some programs must write to the disk. It'll check executable files that DOS opens up, and it'll check all disks for boot sector viruses. It'll warn of attempts to write to the boot sector or partition table of the hard disk. It'll warn you of attempts to write to the boot sector of a floppy disk. And it will also warn you of attempts to modify executable files. Now, if you had all these switches on, you would be getting warnings all the time. I mean, I know because I tried it, and it can be a real aggravation when you have all these switches on. So be very careful about which switches you do use so that you're not being continuously interrupted doing your work.
Oh, wow. Thank you for the warning. Right now, we're going to have to pause so Chip can ask our trivia question. Welcome back. I hope you were able to answer the trivia question. How about you guys? Do you think you got dibs on that?
Well, I don't want to speak for Tim, but it was easy.
Oh, just like that.
That's so good. I'm glad you don't speak for me because you were wrong.
They weren't easy for you? I'm sorry, Tim.
Well, it's related to DOS 6.0, so
right.
I hope you at home could get the right answer, right?
That's right.
Right. Right now, Tim is going to be discussing load fix. Tim?
No, I'm not.
You want me to do MSD first? You want me to do
Oh,
MSD
I'm
first?
sorry. I missed that.
No
I have
problem,
it,
no problem. All right. Microsoft, and this is one of these utilities that Microsoft shipped with Windows 3.1, and it's called MSD, Microsoft System Diagnostic. It's a nice little utility, which we're going to show here on the screen in a second. It's a nice little utility that allows you to see what's inside your machine. A lot of times if you're trying to diagnose a problem, and it works great if you're trying to communicate a problem with a software vendor or a hardware vendor. Say you're having a problem on a particular program that you're trying to run, it goes a lot easier if you have the information from MSD in front of you. Let's get into MSD right now, and it's really easy. All we type is MSD, and we wait for it to come up, and it's Microsoft Diagnostics. And as you can see there, it's examining your system. What it's doing is it's going in and literally finding out all about the things it has here on the screen. The computer, the memory, the video. Let's take a look at computer. Let's go up here, and we'll click on that. All you can do is take your mouse and click on it. And it says here that this particular machine is American Megatrends. And it gives the BIOS, BIOS version, category, BIOS date, processor. This is only a 386, what can we say? DMA controller, and so on and so forth. Memory, it gives you a basic memory map. F tells you what's free, U tells you what's available. It also tells you here what the largest free space is, free block is, how much extended memory you're using. I mean, you can go through all these video, whether you have a network attached, what version of DOS you're running, what's kind of a mouse you have. And like I said, it's really nice if you're trying to figure out a problem. One of the neat things about this, there's actually two. Memory block display. If you want to see what programs you're running in memory, and you see here a list of all your files, let's get down to Smart Drive. Well, if you look between the goalposts, that's the amount of memory that Smart Drive is actually being taken up. We can go down here and look at SetVer. SetVer is taking up this little bit of space right here, and a RAM drive is taking up this. So you can literally go through each one of the files in memory and space right through them and see how much memory each one of them is taking and where the memory is actually being taken from. The other thing that's nice about this is that if you have a problem and you're trying to communicate this to somebody who's far away, if you go into the file area, you can print a report. And the report that you can print, you set the specifications. You can tell it to go ahead and report on everything, or you can actually pick which parts of this you want to send out to the printer. The auto exec, the config, the system, the drives, the computer information. And it prints a nice little 10 or 15 page report, literally about everything in your system. So it's a nice little, and you can also put your name and address, but it's a nice little header on it. So MSD is a nice little utility that comes with DOS 6 and Windows 3.1 that can tell you a lot about your system.
Wow, that is great.
Isn't that nice?
That is.
So exciting.
Now, Tim, are you going to talk about LoadFix for us?
Sure, I'll talk about
Oh,
LoadFix.
good. I'm so happy.
Okay. LoadFix is a little program that you can use because some of the programs that you may have on your machine were designed when memory wasn't quite so large, and you didn't have any extended memory, you didn't have any expanded memory, and a lot of your device drivers were loaded into the very low parts of conventional memory. In fact, in the first 64K. If you have a problem running a program and you think it may be loading into the first 64K of RAM, then try this LoadFix. It will make the program move out of the first 64K of RAM where it may have been written where it's not designed to run. And that should clear up any of the problems that you have with that program.
Oh, great.
Let me ask you one question while I'm thinking of it. This is something that you don't find with very many programs. I've only ever seen it with one program. Have you come across any programs that need to use LoadFix?
Never in my experience.
So it's one of these utilities that probably you're never ever going to use.
Yes, but if you do,
Now you know.
it's there.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Rainey, what are you going to be speaking about now?
Well, the next thing on my list of things to run through here is one utility that was long overdue with DOS 6, and it's called deltree, or delete tree. The deltree command, which is D-E-L-T-R-E-E, will allow you to delete your entire directory and path. The danger with it is that if you type del tree from the root directory, you can blow away everything on your hard drive. So for example, if you have a directory tree for a program you're not using, let's say Excel. We have an entire directory tree for Excel, and we want to go ahead and delete that tree. All you type is del tree, and if you use a /y switch, it won't prompt you, otherwise it'll ask you, are you sure? And then you type \Excel, and it will delete the Excel directory, all the files in it, all the subdirectories pertaining to that directory, and the directory itself. So it does a delete, remove directory, and it does that for every one of the directories, and all you have to type is one line. So it's a command that I use all the time. I think it's a really great utility, and more people should use it.
Wow, and be careful using it.
Yes, be very careful.
Yes, definitely.
Wouldn't you say it would probably be a good idea to use the undelete with the security? If you're going to use del tree a lot?
I don't. I mean, I've deleted files that I wish I hadn't deleted, but I just go ahead and take my chance. But you just got to be very careful that you know what you want to delete before you just go ahead and blatantly type del tree.
Okay. For beginners, it might be a good idea to get rid of it.
Well, I still think it's a worthy command.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
I'll defend this to the death.
And what were you going to be talking about next, Tim?
What I was going to be talking about power.
Power.
Power. You know, you've got to have that in order to run your machine. But some of the new families of CPUs, the 486s, the DXs, the ones that are really pushed up to high speeds, and the new Pentium chip are real power hogs. And especially if you have a laptop, which this was specifically designed for, you can use this power command to cut back on the amount of power that the CPU and some of your devices are using when they are idle. Okay, now depending on the amount of power that you need to save, it has 3 settings. It has a max, a regular, and a minimum. And if your computer supports the new advanced power management specification, then it has another option called STD that will uses only the power management features of your computer's hardware. If it doesn't have it, then STD turns the power management off. Okay?
Well, thank you. Now we're going to have to pause to find out our answers to the trivia questions.
That's right. And hopefully everybody's got the answers.
I hope so. That would be great. Hi, welcome back. I hope you could answer the trivia question. Right now, Rainey is going to talk about the move command.
Thank you. The move command falls under the category of another one of those commands that utilities that Microsoft should have included with DOS back when they added copy. It is a command that has been around for a command that we wish was always around. The move command allows you to do just that. It allows you to move files from one directory to another, or from one disk to another. How many times have you ever had to go in after you've copied your files, then you've had to go back to the original source and delete them, whether it be a directory or a disk, and then go back and delete them? With the move command, you can do it all in one step. It copies the files and it deletes them. How much easier can that be?
It is very helpful, though, isn't it?
That, along with del tree, are probably the 2 commands in DOS 6 that I use the most.
Me too. Me too. Well, right now we're going to be discussing interlink and interserver with Tim.
Thanks, Diane. Interlink and interserver is a mini network inside of DOS. It allows a small measure of security, and that allows you to tell the client which drives he can and cannot use, if there's a printer attached, if he can or cannot use it. It allows you to configure what COM ports you're going to use, because you are connected by a serial port. And speeds are anywhere from 9,600 to 115,200, with 115.2 being the default value. And it, has been a long time coming for something like this. Instead of going out and buying the expensive networks, it just comes in especially handy if you own a laptop and you're transferring data back and forth. And to be honest with you, it is just very much involved, and there's a lot more to it than I can get to it in just the short amount of time that I have here. So maybe in the future we could dedicate a whole show or a good part of a show to setting up a network right here.
Or an interlink.
Sure.
That'd be great.
That sounds
The only thing to keep note of with the interlink is that you do need to have a special cable to communicate two computers together, which you can get just about anywhere these days.
Right, a null modem.
Yeah, no, if you walk into a computer store and say you need an interlink cable, they know exactly what you're talking about, hopefully, or you're in the wrong store.
Yes. Okay, how about this one? I'm going along on my computer, everything is going okay, and oops, I get stuck. What do I do?
Well, these days, you can't look at the manual because it's so paper thin.
Yes.
The manual's not going to help you get the information that you need. So what you do is you go to your handy-dandy little keyboard and you type help.
Of course, help.
Help, that world-famous command. Microsoft has realized that paper isn't everything that it's printed on. They're providing you less and less documentation. So what we need to do is, or what they've done is they've taken all the documentation for DOS and put it right there on the screen. And as you can see, let's say you're having a problem formatting a disk. What we'll do is we'll get down over here to Format, or we can take our little mouse and go to Format. We'll click right here on Format. And it tells us Format. Format's a disk for use with use. Format's a disk for use with MS-DOS. And it tells you syntactically how to use it, what parameters to set, what switches to set, and so on. Some notes, formatting a floppy, how to type in a volume label, formatting a hard drive, formatting messages, safe formatting. They give you a little overview of all of them. And then just for, then they give you some examples. So then you can actually see some of the examples on how to use the format command. Format A:, format A:/Q to do a quick format. And they have this for all the commands, including things like what Tim was talking about earlier, like choice. And you can go into help and find out choice. Now, there's another way of using help, and you can actually print any topic. You can actually search for help. But let's say you weren't sure. You wanted to go right on help on Deltree. Just type help space Deltree, and you're into the help system on Deltree. It's very easy. It's very intuitive because, as Microsoft has proven, unless you're a programmer without a life, you really don't need a manual. So they've put less and less in the manual and a lot more on the screen for you.
Okay, thank you. Well, that just about wraps it up for DOS 6. Thanks, Rainey. Thank you, Tim. Now we're going to be giving the address.
Right.
Right. If you have any questions, comments, anything to add about DOS 6.
Or any other suggestions for the show, for that matter.
Or anything else, yes. Go ahead.
And send them to our regular address. And last year, one of our software winners was Donna Sudziak from Chicopee. And here's Keith Davis with Donna.
Hi, we're here with Donna Sudziak from Chicopee, right?
That's right.
How you doing?
Oh, great.
Good to have you on the show here. Donna is one of the winners in this year's giveaway of software on our show. And let's see what we have. You got about half the stuff here. You get Quicken, and that's for Windows too, right?
Yeah.
And we've got Central Point's antivirus for Windows.
That's wonderful.
Because you use that at work.
Yep.
Scrapbook, and that's a Windows picture file manager. And, of course, Russ Walter's Secret Guide to Computers. There it is.
Thanks a lot.
And 4 tickets to the Computer Museum in Boston.
Oh.
So you're all set. Do you have people you could go down there with?
Oh, yeah, I have a nephew who loves computers, and I'll probably take him with me. He knows more about them than I do.
That's great. That's great. Donna wrote us a letter or a question, I think it was. I think it was one that stumped our experts there. But she wrote us a letter, and we still have some more stuff to give away. And we'll see somebody at a later date. We've got some more packages here, and 386 Max, bunch of stuff. And keep those cards and letters coming in. And here's our address.
We've got some great stuff coming up on future PC Voyage episodes. We have one coming up on how to purchase a personal computer.
And we want to hear about your experiences as well. Whether you purchased your computer from a computer store, computer fair, a mail order, or if you built it yourself.
And remember to send your true stories on your computer purchase to PC Voyage, P.O. Box 10486, Holyoke, Mass. 01041.
Remember, your letter will enter you into our PC Voyage drawing for valuable prizes.
That's right. And you could be just like Donna, and
yes.
win this year. You know, we gave away some great software last year.
Oh,
and,
yes, she loved that, didn't she?
Everybody does. There's nobody that ever says no. Just remember, though, it can't be any relatives of anybody who works on PC Voyage. Right, Glenn? No more letters from you. And I guess that's about wraps it up for this week. I'm Randy Laviolette.
Yes, and thank you, Tim, for
Thank
joining
you,
us.
Tim. I'm sorry, I didn't acknowledge you first.
Tim Hamlet, and I'm Diana McLean. See you next time.
On PC Voyage. Nice job.
Excellent.